Tonight, we're in Doha, where urgent negotiations are starting again. Can Israel and Hamas find a deal? Can utter catastrophe be avoided in Gaza?
Time is of the essence. These people are starving. Children are dying.
On the ground, a growing fear of famine. In the air, a flight of mercy, dropping a thimble of aid into an ocean of misery.
Once these pallets leave the plane, they don't have much control over what happens on the ground.
CBC News has exclusive Canadian access. The Mulroney family's message to Canadians.
It's just been incredibly humbling to hear the outpouring of support.
As colleagues say farewell to the former Prime Minister. The new warning about car thefts, what you need to know about the sudden spike in crimes.
This terrorizing criminal activity has to stop.
From CBC News, this is The National in Doha with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. It is here where negotiators from this country, Qatar, as well as from Egypt, Israel, and Hamas are trying to get to a deal to stop, even briefly, a vicious, destructive war and to ease, even a little bit, a historic humanitarian disaster. According to Hamas-affiliated health authorities, more than 31,000 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began. And according to a UN-backed report, hundreds of thousands more are currently in catastrophic hunger. That could balloon to more than 1 million in the coming days and weeks, the highest number at one time in one place this kind of analysis has ever measured. Tonight, we'll look at efforts to hold that horror back here in Doha. In a Canadian exclusive, we'll take you to the skies over Gaza aboard a plane dropping aid. And from Jerusalem, we will bring you the latest from the war itself. So let's begin right there. Margaret Evans has the battle at a Gaza hospital between Hamas and Israel's military, and the battle civilians are fighting against hunger.
Northern Gaza, penned in with no safe place to turn, people are already starving to death. The fight to get what little aid there is, a dangerous prospect. People will die, says Rami al-Sawirki. They're killing people for 5 kilograms of flour. For God's sake, look at us. Yasmin Tota says she's been displaced 15 times. Their suffering is indescribable, she says. Hunger, sadness, loss, and destruction. The UN's top food insecurity watchdog says famine in the north is now imminent.
Time is of the essence. These people are starving. Children are dying.
Aid agencies accuse Israel of consistently blocking humanitarian supplies from reaching Gaza, something Israel denies. In Brussels, the European Union's foreign policy chief accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war while the world watches.
Gaza was before the war the greatest open-air prison. Today is the greatest open-air graveyard.
Israel insists its only target is Hamas. Overnight, its defense forces raided Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City again.
We know that senior Hamas terrorists have regrouped inside the Shifa Hospital and are using it to command attacks against Israel.
The IDF claims it killed a senior operations commander. In the south, despite the U.S. president calling the Israeli prime minister's plans to invade Rafah a red line, there are signs the Israeli military is preparing to do just that. The two leaders had their first call in a month, but few Palestinians believe Washington is on their side.
If the United States was serious, it would tell Israel they will stop supplying them with weapons, with bombs that they are using against us.
Palestinian politician Mustafa Barghouti also says humanitarian airdrops and plans for a sea corridor are cloaks for Israel's inaction.
We have thousands of trucks of goods waiting in Egypt. Each truck would need only 15 minutes to get to Gaza.
Alarm bells on famine in Gaza have been sounding for some time now, and with the potential for a ground offensive looming in Rafah, the worry is that conditions could soon go from very bad to worse and very quickly. In that phone call earlier, the U.S. President Joe Biden told the Israeli Prime Minister it would be a mistake, and Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to send a delegation to Washington to discuss alternatives. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Jerusalem.
A little later, we'll take you right inside a desperate mission. On each flight, just 16 pallets airdropped from 3,000 feet. An exclusive Canadian look at a last resort to keep the people of Gaza alive. Coming up. All right, we're going to bring in Asha Tomlinson in Toronto right now as we turn to other news. Asha?
Thanks, Adrian. Just before we do that, though, I know that wasn't the only flight you've been on over there, right?
Yeah, that's true. The aid drops that we talked about, they're about getting emergency supplies in, but there's also a monumental effort to get the most seriously wounded patients out of Gaza. So we just got off a medical evacuation flight from Doha that flew to an airfield in Egypt near Gaza. It picked up a few dozen really wounded kids and adults, a little boy who'd lost his arms, quite a few amputations, head injuries, burns, really frightened, exhausted people. Many had never left Gaza before, never been on a plane. They get loaded into the belly of this massive, loud, rattling aircraft that becomes a flying hospital, bringing them back here to Doha to get advanced care. I've never seen anything quite like this, or really quite like the smiles of those kids once they settled in, realized they were safe, got some food. These flights are very special, and we'll bring you the story of that one tomorrow. And I'll be back in about 20 minutes. But for now, it's over to you, Asha.
Talk to you soon, Adrian. Let's begin in Ottawa. The NDP put forth a motion that would have called on Canada to recognize an independent Palestinian state. But Rafi Boudjikanian is with us, and Rafi, that's not how things went down.
Asha, the motion did end up passing, but not without a lot of changes. Last-minute amendments introduced a couple of things. Firstly, they watered down the idea of calling for a Palestinian state immediately, instead calling for the government to pursue Middle East peace and eventually work toward the recognition of a Palestinian state. Secondly, they upended a full day of debate on a motion that was very divisive.
The debate began with a clear but controversial proposal.
Now is the time to recognize Palestine. The United States, the United Kingdom have both signaled that they're looking at ways to formally recognize the state of Palestine.
This motion is about rewarding Hamas for their massacre. This motion is a vote to reward the murder, the rape, the kidnapping of Israelis, and this motion is deeply irresponsible for this parliament.
But while the NDP and the Conservatives were opposed, the Liberals were caught in the middle. Some signaled their support in advance.
It is the moral and the human thing to do. It's a moment of shame for us that we are seeing kids dying of hunger.
While one MP warned his loyalty to the party might be at stake should cabinet ministers side with the NDP.
It would be something that would be psychologically devastating to me. It would be, I think, devastating to many in Canada's Jewish community who have loyally supported our party. And of course, I'd have to consider what that would mean. But it would be, this motion, again, as drafted by the NDP, is an anti-Israel motion.
For the government, there was a different issue.
Of course, there are issues with the motion that is presented by the NDP. And we can't change foreign policy based on an opposition motion.
Then, late Monday, changes introduced an agreement between the NDP and Liberal House leadership.
By replacing paragraph I with the following, quote, work with international partners to actively pursue the goal of a comprehensive, just, and lasting peace in the Middle East, including towards the establishment of the State of Palestine.
So, Rafi, at the end of the day, what does everyone walk away with?
The Liberals are able to get out of a big political conundrum. Justin Trudeau and his cabinet supported the motion. A Liberal source told Radio-Canada that Liberals convinced the NDP that they needed to water down the political temperature in the country. Think of the big protests that have been happening in our cities. Something else they said that managed to convince the NDP was that Canada can't be seen to be out of step with the remaining G7 in recognizing a Palestinian state. The NDP are saying this is a victory for them. 3 Liberal MPs, though, including House Father, did vote against the motion, so that division in the governing caucus has not entirely disappeared, Asha.
All right, Rafi, thank you. And in Ottawa earlier today, political leaders delivered tributes to Brian Mulroney, sharing anecdotes about his character and admiration for his achievements. Ashley Burke now with what they said and who was in the parliamentary gallery to hear them.
The family of Canada's 18th Prime Minister, guests of honour in Parliament, a place Brian Mulroney knew so well, leading the country for nearly a decade.
Now rise and observe a moment of silence.
This tribute in front of Brian Mulroney's widow, Mila, and their 4 children, Nicholas, Mark, Ben, and Caroline.
Brian Mulroney's principles helped shape this nation and the world.
The Prime Minister described his last meeting with Mulroney.
We talked about wisdom that he and my dad both shared, that leadership fundamentally is about getting the big things right.
Politicians reflected on his legacy, negotiating NAFTA, protecting the environment, and standing up against apartheid in South Africa.
He recognized that the diversity of our country makes us a richer and stronger nation.
Brian Mulroney quite literally saved all life on Earth when Canada stood up and organized the Montreal Protocol and saved the ozone layer.
The Conservative leader says he sought advice from Mulroney and says his phone calls were a gift.
In fact, for Brian Mulroney, phone calls were like an art form, using the telephone the way Michelangelo might have used a chisel or a brush. He would do it to make business deals, charm foreign leaders, and more importantly, to comfort grieving or suffering friends.
Afterwards, Mulroney's sons gave thanks of their own.
For us, sitting up in the gallery and hearing everybody speak so positively, probably not what he was used to, but he would have loved it, and we did as well. We're truly honored from all of the people across the country and internationally that have taken the time to reach out to say nice things and words of support.
Dignitaries and the public can pay their own respects to the Mulroney family on Tuesday as the former Prime Minister lies in state near Parliament Hill. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
As Ashley said, Brian Mulroney will lie in state starting tomorrow, and CBC News will have special coverage. Chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton will host, along with David Cochran, host of CBC News Power and Politics. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has failed to get a bond to secure nearly $500 million he owes as part of a civil judgment. His lawyers say he approached 30 underwriters without success. Trump must secure a bond or pay in cash by next week in order to pause enforcement of the ruling. It found him guilty of fraudulently inflating the value of his assets. Trump is appealing that decision. In Moscow, thousands gathered to mark 10 years since Russia's illegal seizure of Crimea. Vladimir Putin was there one day after he secured another 6-year term as president. That election was slammed by an independent Russian vote monitoring group as the most fraudulent and corrupt in the country's history. There's a good chance that during the course of this broadcast, a car will be stolen somewhere in this country. And new numbers from the Toronto Police Service show those thefts are increasingly violent. Thomas Digg on what you can do to protect yourself.
It's come to this. Thieves busting down doors to steal car keys.
Sorry, lady.
Police in big cities are reporting a steep rise in violence linked to auto theft. In Toronto, in this recent attempted break-in, look closely, and one suspect is seen hiding a handgun.
This terrorizing criminal activity has to stop.
Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkew says the city is seeing twice as many carjackings now compared to this time last year.
Call the police directly.
When Cameron Hussein's 2022 Toyota Highlander was taken, he went out looking for it, but was warned by police.
The thieves might be armed, and it's not a good idea to approach the car.
Consider, after a recent carjacking outside the city, officers seized this loaded AK-style pistol. It's a more violent approach than this. Thieves intercepting a key fob's signal and then driving off undetected.
This is funding organized crime. It's funding terrorism. It's bringing guns and drugs into the communities.
Toronto police were ridiculed in recent days in U.S. and British tabloids and on Australian TV.
You're mocking Canada, and
we are mocking
we should
Canada.
mock Canada.
After one officer told homeowners to consider leaving their fobs by the front door to avoid a violent confrontation. A recommendation the force later walked back, saying the officer was well-meaning.
Cutting hedges back, making sure the lighting is good, parking your car in your garage, etc. There are a number of things for residents to consider to prevent this type of activity.
Already this year, the police chief says Toronto has seen more break-and-enters linked to auto theft than in all of 2023. Last year, he says more than 12,000 vehicles were stolen in this city. That's one every 40 minutes. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
Federal funding for HIV self-testing kits expires at the end of the month, and that has some health experts worried. As Ithil Musa explains, the kits have been crucial in early HIV detection, especially in vulnerable communities.
Maureen Owino has dedicated her life to helping educate people about HIV.
I did see people die, but I also saw people suffer.
Owino lives with the virus and says testing is key to getting people the care they need.
People have to be able to get to test in spaces that they feel comfortable, without HIV-related stigma, without having to face judgment, without having to face discomfort. And HIV self-test kits provides this.
The first HIV self-test was approved in Canada in 2020. It uses a drop of blood to deliver results in about a minute. Sean Rourke helped secure approval for the at-home test, and in 2022, he worked to get them distributed across the country with the help of government funding.
It's been incredibly successful.
Despite that, federal support is coming to an end on March 31st, and Rourke says that's a mistake.
Do we want to be the first G7 country to stop a public health program that works? It just doesn't make any sense, does it?
These test kits
Community HIV advocates who ship and deliver the free at-home HIV tests agree.
In Canada, we have all the tools we need to prevent HIV. We just need to get them in the right hands.
There were more than 1,800 new HIV diagnoses in Canada in 2022, a nearly 25% increase from the year before. Manitoba and Saskatchewan had the highest rates, with Saskatchewan's rate more than 4 times the national average.
There are a lot of people in Canada that live a long distance from a place where they can get tested. This enables them to test in their home community or in their home without traveling great distances.
The Public Health Agency of Canada says it's exploring options to continue to make HIV self-test kits available after March 31st. Ithil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
It is official now. Canada has just gone through its warmest winter on record, setting new highs across the country.
I'm concerned about the potential drought, and the fires and everything is so scary.
But what might it mean in the months ahead? Those worries next.
Plus, I'll be back from the Middle East with urgent efforts to get aid into Gaza. We'll go to the skies above the region on a plane trying to get supplies to a desperate population.
They are minutes away from dropping the aid now.
Rare access inside an airdrop. We're back in 2.
A sweltering heat wave has hit Rio de Janeiro. Temperatures reached 42 degrees today, and with humidity factored in, it felt like a scorching 62.3 degrees. People tried to beat the heat any way they could, including hitting those famous beaches. Of course, it is summer there, so Canadians aren't seeing anything on that scale. But this has been Canada's warmest winter on record by a long shot. This winter was 5.2 degrees warmer than the seasonal average, according to Environment Canada. The previous record was 4.1 degrees above average, set back in 2010. BC smashed dozens of temperature records over the weekend, and people have been making the most of it. But as Lindsay Duncombe shows us, there are worries about what's to come.
As people in British Columbia wade into spring, mixed emotions.
The sun is definitely warming. The sun is a big difference because we haven't seen the sun for a while.
Joy at the unexpected warmth, fear about what it all means.
I'm concerned about the potential drought, and the fires and everything is so scary.
Over the past few days, dozens of daily temperature records have been shattered, not just in BC, in the Yukon and Alberta too. Beach weather in mid-March.
The sun, the beach, the water is cold, but it's fine.
As the impacts of the climate crisis intensifies.
Climate here in BC is changing really rapidly.
Things aren't so fine, though, according to 2 provincial news conferences.
We are taking action now to prepare for what could be a very challenging season. In fact, we are taking action earlier than ever, and preparations for this year's wildfire and drought seasons are already well underway.
Anticipating wildfire, BC announced plans to train volunteers and help people who are forced to flee their homes. Anticipating drought, cash is promised for the agriculture sector. But what ranchers really want is rain.
Those insurance programs are designed to cover our bare costs only. You can't make a living at it. We just want to do what our jobs are, and that's to grow food for people and animals.
Environment Canada says this heat could stick around.
Our models are out, and we're seeing that no cold areas. We're seeing every part of Canada looks like it's going to be warmer than normal.
That means warm sun, early blossoms, spring joy, tinged with worry. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, you may be familiar with compatibility issues when it comes to technology like cell phones, but did you know farmers have similar concerns about the machines they use?
It's harder and harder to get things to work together, so the farmer, out of frustration, will end up spending more money.
Why they say it's hurting their businesses.
Plus, inside a mission to get aid into Gaza. Up in the air on a Jordanian plane, airdropping supplies.
Once these pallets leave the plane, they don't have much control over what happens.
We have exclusive Canadian access. And the head of the UN's Relief and Works Agency defends its integrity after allegations some of its workers were involved in the October 7th attacks.
We have full transparency on all our teachers, nurses, doctors.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next.
Crowds flocked to North London today to check out a new mural by Banksy. The artwork appeared Sunday. The piece uses green paint to mimic the foliage of a tree that stands in front of it. Banksy claimed responsibility for the piece on Instagram. A problem in the tech world, it's finding its way into other industries, including agriculture. More and more farmers are frustrated that they can't mix and match equipment because different brands are not compatible with each other. But as Paula Duhatchik shows us, a new bill might just change that.
For farmers like Chris Allam, it's normal to mix and match equipment. A tractor from one brand and a seeder from another. But he says this isn't always as easy as it once was.
It's harder and harder to get things to work together, so the farmer, out of frustration, will end up spending more money just buying 2 things that are the same brand, so they work together.
Problems with interoperability are usually associated with Silicon Valley. Think of how Apple, for years, didn't use the USB cable for its iPhones, forcing customers to buy a Lightning cable instead. The practice is spreading to other industries. Some farm equipment comes equipped with digital locks, technology that prevents farmers from using other brands' attachments.
The impact on our business today is measurable. It's becoming more and more prevalent every day and every year as we come out with the new makes and models.
Right now, manufacturers can't bypass those digital locks without the risk of violating the Copyright Act. But a bill working its way through the Senate aims to change that.
The right to innovate is what we call this bill. So we want people to have the confidence that if they want to build a specific product for a specific purpose, that they can still use the big company's platform.
The bill is being cheered by right-to-repair advocates who see this as part of a broader issue, companies controlling what customers do with their products.
Can you fix the thing that you own? Can you buy products that interoperate with the thing that you own? These are fundamental freedoms.
Still, manufacturers say the bill won't fully solve the problem. They say all farm equipment should be interoperable to begin with in order to be sold in Canada. Paula Duhacek, CBC News, Calgary.
Now, let's dig deeper into our top story tonight, the unfolding humanitarian crisis in that Gaza war and efforts across this region to help. This is the breakdown. This is Doha, the gleaming capital of Qatar, and our base for bringing you close-up perspectives on the Israel-Hamas war. Negotiations towards a possible ceasefire are underway right here, as are plans for delivering aid to Gaza. We've been on the move from the Kingdom of Jordan to the skies over Gaza to show you why feeding and caring for the victims of this conflict is such an uphill battle. We speak to the head of the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, who slams Israel for blocking so much aid to Gaza and bombing a warehouse in Rafah.
What the hell? How come?
But first, we have exclusive Canadian access as Jordan drops food and supplies to save lives in Gaza.
And that's where a huge worry is here. What happens when this hits the ground?
You're about to see for yourself why these drops are simply not enough. They are startling to watch, fast, intense, and when airdrops come one after the other for days, you can catch yourself thinking for a moment, maybe this does make a difference in Gaza. Careful with that. Come back down to earth. To the tarmac of the King Abdullah II Air Base in Jordan. And check this out for perspective. Jordanian C-130s loaded for this day's drop, but just 16 pallets for each plane, and all of it arrived on a single flatbed truck. Along with global partners, Jordan's helped deliver more than 435,000 kilos of aid so far. With Israeli restrictions on what gets in by road, chaos and violence on the ground, these airdrops matter, but they're pricey, inefficient, and precarious. So there are 2 Jordanian planes making the airdrop on this day. They have a very limited window in which they can drop all this aid. They must coordinate the timing precisely with the Israelis. Consider the risks on the ground. There's still rockets coming out of Gaza. There's still airstrikes into Gaza. So they know they have a very short window to do a lot. No doubt you have questions. What's in the boxes? Where's the aid from? No one here is permitted to talk. No time for a briefing, and certainly no time to linger. It's the start of the 46th Jordanian airdrop, 63rd, including the coalition countries. Donations are global, Canada offering hundreds of parachutes, and that's key because Jordan is quickly going through its own. Weather, wind, the state of the sea, the sense of the violence on the ground, how many planes are in the formation, they factor it all in when deciding where to drop. 45 minutes from takeoff in Amman, and they're approaching the coast of the Mediterranean, still very high. This is where they head out to sea, only to turn around and then get down to 3,000 feet.
The UN has talked of wanting a specified landing zone in the north, like a stadium in which to drop this aid. It doesn't have that yet. So once these pallets leave the plane, they don't have much control over what happens on the ground. There's no GPS on the parachutes. And that's where a huge worry is here. What happens when this hits the ground?
Worrying what you can see from the air. While looking at the coast, we spotted smoke rising from the ground. It's not a lot, and it's tough to see from this angle. We've circled it. But we later learned what we saw might have been the aftermath of this moment, an airstrike in central Gaza not long before. No wonder these are concerned and serious faces. In the short weeks of these drops, the teams developed a grid pattern for Gaza. and they try to ensure each plane can drop in a certain grid to spread the aid around and safely. Many crews would prefer being as low as 500 feet for precision. You can't do that in an active war zone.
Okay, they are minutes away from dropping the aid now. We are just approaching Gaza. The timing of this is incredibly precise.
Even at this height, it's clearly shattered. Ruined neighborhoods in the north, crushed buildings. Even those standing largely look uninhabitable. Hundreds of thousands fled the north when the war started. Scared now to be in the south, many returned, are cut off from help. That's why they are the ones who need the airdrops the most. And here they go. Time to don the safety gear, to check the parachutes again and the load one last crucial time. The bay doors open. Watch carefully. This happens fast. The crew cut the tethers, then shove. 16 pallets gone. But look, right there, one parachute seemingly entangles in another. Soon they're both disengaged, two loads appearing to plummet. It's too fast for anyone up here to see if the chutes eventually reopen, but the potential for mishaps terrifies. Within the last few weeks, several children were reportedly killed by these falling aid parcels when their chutes failed. So anxiety is real. Working with local videographers in Gaza, we alert them to the time of the airdrops we're following so they can offer a sense of what is and has been happening on the ground. With some 6 drops this day, they capture what they can, and look at what they see near the south. You can feel the panic. And in the north, telltale chaos. Each drop from each plane unpredictable and devastating if you're the one who's hungry and in need. Saad Abu Rafi says he was beaten trying to get almost anything he could pick up. This is the can of milk for my son. Look how many people crushed it. This is what I got. 10 people attacked me. Sometimes gangs or armed groups grab, then sell the aid, leaving the desperate even more so. There's a 1% chance we'll get something, Ramez Abu Amira says. They dropped 10 parachutes. What are 10 parachutes for 1 million people? Fatima Abu Kumsan told the local videographer it hurts to see children watching this. Curse the countries that treat us like dogs running after our food, she says. They know this isn't a solution, so do aid workers. 25 human rights organizations have signed a letter making that point. UNICEF says 1 in 3 kids under the age of 2 in Gaza is acutely malnourished. More supplies delivered urgently by truck are all that can stave off famine, they fear. Until then, this is what help looks like. The C-130 crew, after dropping this day, climb and speed up as soon as they can. They have to get out safely and make room for other planes coming in. And as soon as they're back in Jordan, back on the tarmac, it's back to planning for the next one. Desperate moves in a deeply desperate moment. When we return, I speak with the head of the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, about the pressures it's now facing and how fast the humanitarian situation in Gaza has unraveled.
There is something extremely medieval behind this.
That interview is just ahead on The Breakdown. Welcome back to Doha, where negotiations are in progress for a possible ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. A stop to the violence cannot come soon enough for the people dangerously hungry. The level of childhood hunger is simply unprecedented, says the latest UN report. So we sat down with Philippe Lazzarini, who heads UNRWA, the main lifeline for 2.2 million Palestinians trapped in the constant upheaval of war. Not long after he gave this interview, he was denied access to Gaza. I began by asking about Israel's strike on this warehouse in Rafah just days ago. Given that you have daily conversations coordinating movement of people, when a warehouse that you know Israel knows that's your warehouse and where it is, when something like that happens and it's attacked, and you get on the phone, what's that conversation like?
Well, the conversation would start by saying, what the hell? How come? You know that this is a distribution center. You know that our staff is there. You have all the coordinator. How come this could have happened? Is this deliberate, not deliberate? Who is behind it? And after that, an investigation starts.
And this operation in Rafah, that is looming. What will that mean?
You know, this war is already the war of all the superlative. Basically, more than 30,000 people have been reported killed. And there have been more children, more journalists, more United Nations staff, more health workers killed in 5 months than anywhere else in any other conflict. Last week, we basically had more children killed in 4 months than the number of children killed in 4 years in every conflict across the world. Combined.
Have you ever seen hunger accelerate this quickly?
I have seen hunger in the world. I have been based in Somalia. I have seen it in Eastern Africa. But in these places, most of the time, it's a combination due to climate change. There are slow onset and looming famine. But I have never ever seen in the world a place which never experienced hunger that within 4 or 5 months, the entire population experienced hunger. In a certain extent, there is something extremely medieval behind this.
What goes through your mind when you, knowing the challenges that you have on the ground, when you see airdrops happening, or an NGO like World Central Kitchen cooking food, and World Food Program able to get some trucks into the north? What's the difference there?
I don't think that any of these partners are in a position to do more than what UNRWA does. We are all confronted to the same kind of challenges, and one of the challenges on the ground is that there is no supply at scale for the population. We have now challenges on outside Gaza for the aid being authorized to come into Gaza, extraordinarily cumbersome inspection mechanism on the Israeli side, plus the only real crossing being Kerem Shalom from the Israeli side. Some days it's shut down, some days it is open, sometimes you have demonstration blocking the supply. And then you have the situation inside Gaza, where basically we used to have also some protection from local police, but with the ongoing military operation, number of them have been targeted, and the remaining civil order has also imploded. And this is the reason why you see regularly scenes of people just jumping on the trucks and trying to help themselves of the assistance. And most of the time, the assistance has already gone before it properly reaches destination.
You talked about the cumbersome process of getting aid inspected. What sort of things have been turned away? What sort of items in the trucks?
I mean, for example, you had medical season for children. This has been turned back. I keep hearing that incubator for newborns have been turned back. Ventilator also for the emergency unit at the hospital have also been turned back. So basically, beside food, mattresses, clothes, and fuel, there are very little other items allowed to come into the Gaza Strip.
And when that's turned back, it's not like take this pallet out because we find medical scissors.
The entire truck which will be turned back.
The UN Relief and Works Agency and its 13,000 Gaza employees serve Palestinian refugees as the official mandate, but the agency is also fighting for its very existence. There is right now, and not for the first time, a campaign underway to cut it down. currently with allegations made in January by Israel that a dozen of its workers participated in the attacks of October the 7th. Lazzarini immediately fired those accused workers.
Now, this allegation of the 12 staff has been conveyed to me in person by a senior official of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It has been conveyed orally to me. It's absolutely horrible to think that staff might have participated to the massacre of October 7. Would this be the case, this would be a terrible betrayal for not only vis-à-vis UNRWA, but especially vis-à-vis the Palestinian communities or the Palestinian refugees. And I have taken swift action as from that day. But since, and despite our call for cooperation to the Israeli government, we haven't received any additional element substantiating this allegation.
So for people who are sitting at home but are left with the question, do I trust UNRWA? How do you vet your staff, and how do you coordinate it with Israel?
We are sharing on a yearly basis our list of staff with the government of Israel and also with the Palestinian authorities. We have full transparency on all our teachers, nurses, doctors, engineers, or operation support staff with Israeli. And never ever, over the last few years, I have received any concern or about a possible political affiliation of our staff.
But this conversation, regardless of whether you're watching it on social media or you're watching it in more of official or mainstream places, there is a melding of perceptions. There is an attempt to suggest where UNRWA stops and Hamas begins, the lines are blurred.
You know, we are in a kind of a propaganda and communication war also, to say there is absolutely no differences between Hamas and UNRWA. This is a complete nonsense. I'm heading a UN agency providing human development to Palestinian refugees, education, primary and secondary education to more than 300,000 girls and boys only in the Gaza Strip and more than 500,000 across the region here. We provide primary health care to millions of Palestinian refugees. How can you equate even the UN agency with Hamas? Hamas is in control since 2005. More than half the population are children between the age of 1 to 18 years. None of them have elected Hamas.
There are calls from within Israel to expel the organization, seize its headquarters. A number of countries, when hearing the Hamas allegations, said they would pause funding. Many, like Canada, have since vowed to renew, but not the biggest donor, the United States. A shortfall of nearly $500 million from the Americans could be ruinous. And then there's the reality that other UN leaders have not had their visas renewed. Philippe Lazzarini doesn't know what will happen to him, or UNRWA, or the Palestinians the agency is supposed to help care for. So along with getting aid into Gaza, there are efforts to get the most seriously injured out. We will take you inside that effort tomorrow. Now, let's send things back to Asha in Toronto.
Thank you, Adrienne. Well, next, a blind man treks 160 kilometers across PEI.
Congratulations, buddy. You did a great job. I didn't know if you were going to stop here and just keep going.
His journey to raise money for homelessness in our moment. That's Robbie Burt, and he just completed a remarkable feat. He walked 160 kilometers from Tignish to Hunter River in PEI to raise money for homelessness. It wasn't easy for Robbie, who is also blind. It was long days and tumultuous weather, but he didn't let any of that stop him from achieving his goal. His dedication to help others and keep going is our moment.
My right foot's still quite sore. That's little to pay for, for a good cause like this. I decided, well, homelessness was a very big issue. I've heard for the last year or so, everybody talking about it, but no one doing nothing. So I decided, well, I can walk and let's do a fundraiser and see how much money we can raise.
How much have you raised so far?
Just a little over 10,000.
Well, I have nothing but admiration for Robbie because legally he's blind. He's only got 5% vision. It's 160 kilometers, so, you know, it's quite a distance to walk. He said instead of walking a mile in their shoe, he was going to walk 100 miles in their shoes.
I'm feeling good. I try to do what I can to help whoever needs the help.
Congratulations, buddy. You did a great job. I didn't know if you were going to stop here and just keep going.
So Robbie's fundraising goal was $5,000 initially, but he of course doubled that. The money will go to two charities, one called Hope House. It's a 5-bed emergency shelter for mothers at risk who have infant children, and The Village, which helps a group of volunteers working to end homelessness. Kudos to you, Robbie. That is absolutely inspiring. For all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Asha Tomlinson. Take care.